Hi everyone. I really love the expression home away from home, mostly because those of us who live here on Fort Myers Beach share this one. This is the Mound House. Welcome. The historic Mound House, located mid-island at the end of Connecticut Street, sits proudly on Estero Bay and is considered by many as the island's crown jewel. Below it is an ancient Calusa Indian shell mound, and today the restored building serves as a museum. Its history is showcased through cultural programs that highlight an interior adorned with artifacts, and the beautiful grounds are celebrated through popular garden tours. You can even enjoy the setting by kayak.
My name is Roger McKee. I'm down from Illinois on vacation. That's the second time I've been here. Now I've had more or less somebody that knows everything about what goes on here, and I just learned a lot more from it. Very interesting. I'm glad it's still here and didn't get destroyed and full of condos. So, piece of history I think everybody should see, that especially lives down here, that they don't know it, they should know it.
Built in 1921, the current building stands as the island's oldest existing structure. It is now owned and operated by the town, which in 2015 added an observation deck to the property, and in March of 2019, it was designated as a member of the National Register of Historic Places. Lately, it has become the place to be for the community. School kids visit on field trips, weddings are held, and other social events are commonplace. It even features a gift shop. Ready for a closer look? Put on your history hat, and let's do it. Hey!
Well, good morning.
Oh, what a great welcoming committee to the Mound House. Everybody, you've got the creme de la creme of the Mound House. This is Bill Grace. His family actually lived in this home. This is Seal Spuler. She has been part of this endeavor since day one, and well, Dan Hughes is the infamous former mayor who likes to think that he is the best mayor ever.
As you are.
That's right.
Okay.
Right. And these three folks probably have more history of the Mound House than any other three combined. So, you know what I want to ask you all, just to start this off, is to tell me what is special about this place. What is it that draws people to this place? I know, Bill, for you, it's history.
Well, I think the Mound House has a certain feel.
It sure does.
Connie and I were standing out on the mound just a few minutes ago. Early morning, summer in Florida, beautiful breeze blowing on the mound. There's just a special feel.
Sure is. It's almost mystical in a way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it sure is. And Seal, what's your
Well, I've always
secret?
felt it was a treasure.
Yeah.
It's actually a treasure that has been kept and then opened up because they found all kinds of these wonderful artifacts, but then they found out the history of your early family coming here, those early settlers. So it's one treasure that's being found one right after another, and it's still happening.
Yeah.
Because through the study and everything of the Calusas.
Yeah. And Dan?
Well, I agree with what both Bill and Seal said, but I would add that it's a unique combination of the homestead,
Sure.
the historical aspect,
Yep.
and the archaeological, and then we have these wonderful lawn with the horticultural aspects, the plants that the Indians utilize in their daily life. So that's a very unique situation. Each of those in itself is an asset, and you put them all together, it's very unique.
And like Seal said, it's a treasure.
It's a treasure.
Yeah. Well, this room especially is a treasure because of how it's furnished, and we have a plaque here that's all the furnishings here in memory of Dan's wife, and he actually contributed the money to buy these. Dan, you want to talk a little bit about it?
Well, we found this photograph of the resident sitting in this room in 1909. We came up with the idea of trying to replicate all of the furniture and the artifacts that are in that photograph. And we retained Judy Owen, a
Antiques
antique dealer and appraiser, and she spent well over a year and a half, going all over the country, finding things that match this,
Oh, it's beautiful. It's just
including that
beautiful.
painting. We
Yep.
had that
Done.
painting done to match that painting on the wall.
And so I love this fireplace. It's one of my favorite things in the home. And if you guys wouldn't tell a little bit about this, because I know there's a history to how this actually came to be, and it's in that photograph.
Right. Bill, you have to tell just how he let me help put those in.
Oh,
now, I thought
I didn't
that was
know
a
that, Seal.
privilege. But they all, Park Lewis, had it all laid out first, and John, tell the material, Bill, and how, because every one had to be placed exactly like it was in the picture.
Well, the idea was, I mean, the shell plaque was destroyed in the 50s when the Longs remodeled this room. So one of our goals was to take the room back to the 1909 configuration, which meant we needed to reconstruct the shell plaque on the fireplace.
So Seal, you talk about treasures, and we're talking about the fireplace, so tell us a little bit about this.
Well, the wonderful part about this is that when the Longs were remodeling and they took a couple of those tiles fell out, and this envelope that had, when Mr. Long found that, it was a blessing to the house.
Isn't that amazing?
And the wonderful part of it is staunch walls, proud roof, repel the warring blast. So they must have had some rough weather.
Kind of rough weather,
But
sure.
to me, that is a treasure.
I'm going to just read this whole thing. It says, "Stand firm, gray rock, tough weathered beams hold fast, staunch walls, proud roof, repel the warring blast. Glow warm, deep hearth, against the winter's chill. Clear flame of love, burn brighter, warmer still." Oh, I love that.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah, it is. So Bill, you can't help but notice this beautiful brick in the room. Can you tell me a little about that?
Yeah, the brick is rather unique. There are no other brick residential structures in Southwest Florida from the 1909 era. There were a couple of commercial
Wow.
buildings, but there are no other residential structures
Oh, darn.
made with brick. And we actually know that Mr. Case, my great-grandfather, made the bricks himself.
Wow.
We actually have a photograph that my grandmother wrote on the back. She mentioned something about the brick bungalow and that Will made the bricks himself.
I'll be darned. So this is the beautiful exhibit room where all of, well, not all, but many of the relics have been displayed. And probably the most important one is this bowl. Seal, you want to talk about the bowl?
Well, the wonderful part about this is when we found that, we were just so excited. But once they took the spatula and the little paintbrush, right? It all began to fall apart as they lifted it out. And so they put everything in bags and numbered it with the date and everything. And then for what was it, 2 or 3 years? Our volunteers, not me. I am not that patient. They actually put the bottom
Reconstructed it.
together.
Isn't that
Now,
amazing?
if we had been a little wiser than we are now, we would have known what to do, but we sent it over to the university on the East Coast, right? And of course, they're college students, so of course they're supposed to be more wise. They blew up a balloon, put our bottom over the top, and then they had all the pieces to go together.
Oh, wow. That's a good
And
story.
then it got returned. We have now learned our lesson.
Bill, what is this?
Well, actually, that's a pipe that the Calusa
I'll be
Indians
darned.
made. We actually found that when we excavated the swimming pool.
Yeah?
We took the swimming pool. The swimming pool wasn't quite as deep as the exhibition room is now.
Right.
But the archaeologists went ahead and took it down to the original Fort Myers Beach sand, where the Calusa Indians 2,000 years ago began piling up shells to create this mound. And that pipe was almost at the bottom
I'll be darned.
of that layer. So it's almost 2,000 years old.
What were the Calusas smoking? I'm just
Well,
curious.
we had hoped to find tobacco in it to prove that there was trade between like the Carolinas
Sure.
and South Florida. Unfortunately, the report on the material in the pipe was that it was some exotic local plant, not
Oh,
tobacco.
exotic local plants. We'll leave it at that. Okay. Well, I know you like to show this to people, but what actually is it?
Well, this is actually the homestead deed. And the wonderful part about this is when it was 1898
I'll
from
be
President
darned.
McKinley. But the thing that I think is just so interesting, because when you really realize with the script and everything else, when I show this to children today, they'll say, "What language is that?"
I know, because it's cursive writing, and it's not only that, it's beautiful.
Right.
Isn't that funny?
But isn't this the most, here you could have
It's just beautiful.
170 acres for nothing if you lived on the land. Isn't it 5 years?
I'll be darned.
I
Boy,
think
people'd like that to be
It
true
was
today,
supposed to
wouldn't
be
it?
5 years, but it wasn't.
No.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be, what, 60 acres? And a mule?
60 acres
Yeah.
and a mule.
Right.
No kidding.
Wow.
The original Homestead Act.
I'll be darned.
So, but you know, when they came out and surveyed the island, there weren't exact squares to make section, township, and ranges with. So they called them government lots out here, and they were of odd acreage, unlike
That's appropriate for
unlike
Fort
a
Myers
section,
Beach.
township, and range.
That is
Yeah.
interesting.
Seal, do you remember the first time you came to Fort Myers Beach?
No, I can't. Well, I
You
know.
can't. You don't remember it. But what I like to think of when I'm standing here is talk about treasures. I mean, every person on this island and people who come to visit have a unique moment to be able to take in this view. It's something most people don't have in their own homes, and it's a moment where you just fill your body with this peace that you take in here, you know?
That's an interesting, because when you come over the bridge,
Exactly, you have that same
You ha-
feeling, and you have it again here.
right,
Yeah.
that is a good thought.
Calusa! Hello, tree.
Did you hear it?
So,
Huh?
I did.
I didn't.
I love it. So there's this magical spot here that if you turn and talk to the tree, you actually hear the sounds reverberating back to you. It's the most unique experience. So if you come to the Mound House, don't forget to talk to the tree. So this beautiful mural reflects how the Calusas actually lived, but here we are in this underground exhibit that came about once the swimming pool was removed from the home, right, Seal?
Yes, because when Teresa began to find treasures on the property, she said, "We know this is a
A
treasure
mound, yeah.
and a mound, but I have to know how old it is."
Oh.
So that's when it was. She said, if we took out the pool, we'd be down several centuries. So it was a very wise move, and it took about 2.5 years once the pool was removed for us to reach the 2,000-year-old saint.
I remember when we had all kinds of volunteers who were out here digging, and it was really quite exciting there at the beginning, wasn't it?
Right.
Sure was. This is the warrior, and we call this tree the warrior because she protected the house during Hurricane Irma. If you take a look at this whole section here, you can see where literally the winds sheared off about 1/3 of the tree. And had the tree not been here, it would have sheared off the house. So we've called this tree the warrior. What it really is a landmark strangler fig. In 1906, this tree was full grown. So add another 100 years to that, almost 120 years now, and it's just an extraordinary element of this property. So I hope you've enjoyed this visit at the Mound House. I've been fortunate enough to be involved with this property since we acquired it back in the late 90s. And then again, when we actually opened the doors to our first visitors, I had the great pleasure of being the person who actually opened the doors. And it's such a special place. The community is so engaged with it. We have fundraisers for this property with the Friends of the Mound House all year long. As a matter of fact, I feed a lot of people at my house for this thing. People actually bid on dinners to come and have a good time. So I hope you get a sense of just how special this property is to me and to everyone who loves and knows the Mound House.